Greetings, greetings one and all, fellow humans of the crafty side of YouTube. My name's Susan, pronouns she, her. Welcome to my little corner of the internet. I'm happy that you're here. If you haven't checked out my channel before, if you're new around here, I like to do little vlog style videos about things I'm working on, walks I take, books I'm reading, blah, blah, blah. This is not a like really formal knitting podcast, as they say. This is just me shooting little videos to check in and yeah, share some of the stuff I'm working on. It is currently about 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. It is February the 17th. February 17th marks 1 year, one complete calendar year since I had the surgery on my arm to repair my elbow. Those that are new around here or don't follow me on Instagram or haven't been following me for a while, I fell down in February of last year and I basically exploded my elbow and ended up in the hospital for a little while and had major surgery to repair it. And it has now been 1 year since that surgery occurred. And I currently now have a plate, a metal plate, like right here. And I can't remember how many screws. I think there might be 7 or 8. I think, screws in there. Yeah, and I've come to realize now, I think I have been waiting for this moment. I think this whole year has been building up to this point for being like 1 year out of my recovery. 1 year out since injury and all that stuff. Some folks were celebrating like January 1st as their start of their new year. This really feels like my new year. This feels like we survived. Don't know if we thrived, but we survived. And now I'm on the other side of it. And I don't know if it is like a renewed feeling of like, okay, let's do some stuff. Let's get back to the things that I love doing, which is shooting little videos like this, which is sharing the creative things I'm doing with you and all of that, because I haven't been doing that. With the exception of the vlog videos that have been here that I filmed in October, November, which was kind of tracking my Stephen West Mystery Knit Along progress, which isn't done. I didn't finish it. Realistically, probably not going to finish it. So the prediction I made in the first video of that series, where why am I doing this? Because I know I'm not going to finish it. Yeah, rang true. So true to form. Not going to finish it. I'll use the yarn for something else, but I'm not going to share that with you right now, because what I want to share with you right now is my current hyper fixation that I can't seem to let go of. And eventually I know I'm going to hit a point where I am not going to want to do any of this anymore. And it'll be probably another year before I get back into it again. But for now, I'm riding it. I'm riding the wave. We're going for it. And that is granny squares. I am Goo-Goo for Goo-Goo or Gaga, or is it Gaga? Cuckoo, not Goo-Goo. What? They say cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? Not Goo-Goo for granny squares. All right, that's the title of this video. Goo-Goo for granny squares. We're going. Yeah, I have become a bit granny square obsessed, and partially that's because of hand pain and all of that stuff, wanting to diversify the different yarn crafts that I do. I do that a lot where I oscillate between knitting and crochet, even punch needle rug hooking and spinning to give my hands a break and give my hands different motions. I have arthritis in my hands and a lot of arthritis in my right hand, and I really benefit from switching things up like that. It makes me feel like makes my hands feel healthier, you know? I don't know. And I started crocheting granny squares, a lot of them, like in April of last year, like March or April of last year, when I was home recovering with my busted up arm. And I made a lot of them with the intent to make a cardigan. Now, that didn't pan out. I lost steam. I also, when I was connecting all of my little granny squares together for this specific cardigan, which name I cannot recall right now, but I'm going to put a picture of it right here. And it looked fairly easy, and I thought I would have a handle on it, but unfortunately, I did not, and I didn't quite understand how to attach things together, but also how to evenly attach my single crochet like border rows and stuff to build the cardigan to attach it together. I just wasn't, I felt like my skill set and my comprehension of crochet was not there. And so I found it very hard, and I lost interest and then moved on. Cut to maybe about a month ago when I started fishing through all of my granny squares that I had made for this project, which were a lot, and I started reusing them. And I had a lot of granny squares that were essentially like this. So where they're just, you know, the plain, this is the center of the granny square. And then I would go for like another few rows, rounds and stuff around to basically add the border and all that stuff. So I had like a whole bag filled with these single little squares. And I thought, all right, let's see what I can do with this. I really want to make a garment. I don't necessarily want to make a pullover, or not pullover, like a throw blanket or anything like that. I want to make something that I can wear. And I feel like my globe is freaking out because I think it needs batteries. We're turning off the orb because it's too light out right now for the orb. You may see the orb later in this video, but also I think the batteries are dead. So I have to put new batteries in there. Where was I? Granny squares. So I was looking around, buzzing around and all this stuff, trying to find something that I can use these granny squares for. And I came across a sweater vest pattern I realized I had it saved in my Ravelry library, but completely forgot about it. So I was Googling and everything for granny square layouts for a sweater vest or a top or something. And what I find for a lot of these kinds of projects, especially right now where granny squares and like granny cardigans, granny pullovers and stuff are really popular, especially on TikTok, that there aren't really any written patterns for anything. They're just like quick little video tutorials and rough instructions on how to do this, which, is not easy. And they're not easy to find or anything like that. So I found the sweater vest pattern. It was free. It was it's on a blog post from a couple of years ago. I'm going to link it and everything down below so you'll be able to find it. The blog post is wonderful because it really breaks down what you're doing and gives suggestions for adjusting your gauge and figuring out how to make this sweater vest fit the way that you need it to fit, depending on the yarn you're using, the gauge you crochet at, and your bust size, and yada yada. The designer, when I was reading through the blog post, their bust measurements are pretty much on par with mine. So I didn't really alter anything. I I laid everything out in the exact same way that they did. And I made all of my granny squares. I used a whip stitch to attach them all together. And then once they were all attached, according to the layout that's provided in the blog post, I picked up stitches around the armholes and the neck, as well as the hem. I picked up stitches with my knitting needles, and I knit 1 by 1 rib for like, I think 2 inches, and then one for 3.5 inches, something like that. I knit the ribbing, and the result turned out so well. I have it right behind me here. So I think they call it the Agnes sweater vest. But like, look at how great this turned out. I'm like so pleased with it. It's the front. Here's the back. And I'm completely like it turned out really good. And I had this slight fear that it might be like, I love color, as you can see, and I love kitschy things, but I was like, there's a line, right? And everybody's line on kitsch is very personal to them. And so I do have a line when it comes to things being kitschy. And I was a little trepidatious that I was crossing it. But no, this turned out so well. And I did a little Instagram reel kind of showing it while wearing it. So I'll kind of, put it somewhere. I'll insert it in here so you can see it. And yeah, I'm so pleased with how this turned out. And I love wearing it, and it's wonderful. And I'm like, holy crow, I need to make another one, like, immediately. So it's not that I'm making another sweater vest, but I definitely could. I wanted to up the ante a little. So I'm like, well, if I made this sweater vest and it turned out really great, what if I used the same methods and made a pullover? So I found a video here on YouTube. I'm going to link it below. I think the YouTube channel, like, their name is Ava P, I think, and they have a 15-minute, 20-minute, whatever video, vlog style video of how they made their granny square pullover that's oversized. It has a big, like, kind of cowl turtleneck thing. And what's really awesome about the video is that, the crafter in the video, she goes into how basically how to measure your bust and calculate how many squares you need, or how big the square should be, and all of that stuff. And she provides a layout for how to place everything. And it was incredibly helpful. And I'm doing it. And that's what all of this stuff right over here. This is my blocking board I recently got from Amazon for crochet squares, or the granny squares. I didn't block these granny squares. It's more so for me to basically stretch them out so they're not curling or anything, and it's a placeholder for them. So as I'm finishing them, I'm putting them here to make them easier to sew, like seam together. For the sweater that I'm going to do, I've decided I'm going to make it a little, I don't think I'm going to have as much positive ease as the original YouTuber has in hers. And also my squares are a lot smaller. So I think her squares were like 6 inches or something like that, maybe larger each. Mine are only 3.5 is what I've aimed for. So 3.5 squares. So it means for my bust size, with about 20% of positive ease in the bust, I'm going to need about, I calculated 62, roughly, about 62 granny squares. And then what I'm planning on doing is picking up the stitches for the neck, and instead of doing like the big roll neck of granny squares, I'm just going to do a ribbed, like little crew neck that's like on this guy here, and then do the same for the bottom hem. But for the bottom hem, I'm going to reduce my stitch count and use a pretty tight gauge for the ribbing so I can cinch everything in. That's my goal, is to have this sort of balloon kind of shape and cinch the waist in, and then do the same thing for the sleeves. I want the sleeves to be a little balloony and cinch it in. That's my plan. And I have to say, I'm having so much fun trying to figure this stuff out, because it's so different from following like any of the knitting patterns that I'm currently following right now. And I have a bunch of works in progress and stuff. This feels like, because I'm not necessarily following a written pattern, it feels like I am like sculpting, constructing things as I'm going, and there's very real problem solving I have to do as I'm working, and it's activating a part of my brain that is making me remember what it was like when I was doing my art degree, and where I'm in the studio trying to figure out, I had an idea and I'm trying to figure out how to make it happen. And through all this trial and error and all of that stuff, I'm really loving it, to the point now that once I get this sweater kind of going, I already have plans for doing another one. And that involves ripping out another project, and which I'll probably do a little later today, and kind of take you along with that journey too. I'm thrilled. I am so obsessed with granny squares right now that I even decided I wanted to make granny squares for to be seat covers in my car. And I've started doing that, but to be honest, I'm not that far along on it. And I don't have them in here to show you, so I'm not going to. But I do want to share some of these granny squares with you. Okay, we're going to do a scene change, just because I was sitting too far away from my camera, from my phone. So it wasn't wanting to focus in the way that I want it to. Things are falling here. So now you're on my standing desk. Right now, what I'm doing is trying to finish up all of the little granny squares that I'm making for the center of my sweater squares. So I'm going to show you this. This is partially what I have done so far for the setup of what these squares look like. So I have some sewn together. I stopped here because I think I'm going to be, I ran out of yarn, like the center yarn, which is a couple of scraps of Yarn Hero, which is, I believe it's a Canadian yarn. It's very similar to Spin Cycle. This is a sport weight or very light DK color changing yarn that Barber poles and all that stuff has gradients and everything. And I'm using it for the center of all of the squares. I have like, let me see, I have a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch here. But the original ones that I made back last year that I used for my sweater vest, they're too big. And I wanted to tighten everything up. The needle I was using then, I think may have been a 4.5 or something millimeter. So now I'm using a 3.5 or 3.25, something like that, needle for all of these, or hook for all of these. But it does mean I need to unravel some of these squares. So that's what I'm doing. I already did some of them, and I have like little balls, if I can get them to focus. I have little balls right here. I'm going to recrochet those into the smaller squares, sew in all my ends, because that is the thing. That is the trick. If you're going to be doing any kind of granny square project like this, you got to sew in your ends as you're going, because if you don't, it's going to be really annoying at the end. And it makes a huge difference to sew in your ends as you go. And I am not the type of person, I am not going to use a magic knot or anything like that. I will just literally take my darning needle and sew in my ends very well. So well, in fact, that I'm having a really annoying time ripping these little squares out because I've sewn in the ends really well. But anyway, that's what I'm planning on doing. And then I have to go around and put in the border. So you can see here, I'm doing little borders in different colors. The yarns that I'm using are, again, the center ones, as you can see here. The center is Yarn Hero. And then I do about 3 rounds of the Yarn Hero. And then I have 1 round of a random DK weight yarn. So that is, I have some white that's a leftover really old Madeline Tosh yarn. Really old Madeline Tosh that's been sitting in my stash forever. I also have some equally as old, like sort of gold color, goldy brown color, Mineville Wool Project, which doesn't exist anymore. They were a dye duo based out of Nova Scotia, I believe. And then I also have this goldenrod color that I have no idea what it is and where it came from. It just exists in my stash. I don't know what it is. I know it's merino because it feels like merino, but other than that, I have no idea where it came from. And then I also have the blue around here. I actually have the skein right here. This is from Ancient Arts Yarns, and I know it's in the colorway Lake Louise. And I had initially picked it up to make a cardigan at one point that had like brioche stuff up the side, and realized how much I hate knitting brioche. So that quickly got frogged. But yeah, I'm using that stuff up. And then the pink that kind of joins everything together, that is, I have the skein here. You can see it. Will it focus? Great. This is pretty true to color here on camera. This is from Fiber Goddess, who is a local to me dyer based in Calgary. And this is Jen's Downy DK, which is a super, super soft superwash merino. And the color is Shock Me, Shock Me, Shock Me with that deviant behavior, which is a quote from one of my favorite movies, Empire Records. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. And I think I'm gonna have enough yarn to do all the ribbing with this. And if I don't, Jen, if you're watching, I might need more. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to do some crocheting. We're going to drink coffee and catch up with some other knitting pals here on the YouTubes. I'm going to check out, while I'm knitting, Mackenzie of M to the Third. I'm going to check in with B of Maker Bee, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. So come with me as we crochet a bit and problem solve and all of that jazz. had this moment as I was crocheting and looking at basically what I have connected so far, and realizing I really am not going to have enough yarn to do all of the little centers of the granny squares. So I have to come up with an alternative. So, and before I start attaching even more onto here, because once I start using a different yarn for the interior, I have to like make sure I have it evenly just like put around everything. The yarn that I'm going to use, where did I put it? I'm going to be using some hand spun actually. And because the Yarn Hero has this hand spun quality to it, I think I can get away with it. You know, it's not going to disrupt the gauge too much. Yeah, which one am I going to use? Is it this one? Oh, for goodness sake, where have I put everything? I think it's this one. Gosh, I'm having this thing. I don't know what it is with me this week, but true ADHD moments where I keep putting things down and they go into the vortex and they disappear, or things magically appear from, you know, vortexes past that I didn't realize I had been missing things. Anyway, the majority of the squares and everything, the center squares, are like an orange or a pink, with the exception of some blue ones, some green ones. The hand spun I'm going to use is this stuff right here, which, let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. This is hand spun that I think I spun this up last year or maybe the year before, and it was done, I think I did a gradient spin as much as I could. It's pretty neat. So it's like a lot of yellow and a lot of pink, and I think that this will work really well. I do have other yarn that I can use in the place of this if I feel like I need to, but I think that this might help me fill the gaps of my granny square pullover. I also had this moment too where I'm like, oh, am I making this too large? Because for my size, I'm doing like 15 to 20% of positive ease. And so probably about as much positive ease as this t-shirt, really. And that means I have to have, for the front and like the side, there needs to be 8 squares. And I'm like, oh my God, 8 squares around? Like, I felt like it's really big to me. But no, I've been like holding it up, and I'm like, okay, if this is from here to here is 4, and if 6 is what's going to really give me like the ease that I want, you need to have 8 technically to like fill in the gap around here, like the underarm. So it's a lot of mathing that only sort of works. I keep doing the same math over and over again, thinking I'm coming up with a different solution. But no, that's the definition of madness, I guess, if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Anywho's, I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to wind this up. I honestly don't know if I have set the twist in this. I'm pretty sure I have because it's sitting fairly balanced. We're just going to go for it. I know I have some skeins that I haven't set the twist on, but you know what? Whatever. Right? Whatever. I also realized as I was looking at my notes that I had made that for my original squares I was using a completely different hook. And so I've been using a 3.5 millimeter hook for my most recent center squares, when I started actually with a 3 millimeter hook. Oh my gosh. Again, where's my brain? I don't know. So we're going to continue, but use a 3 millimeter hook instead. But that's okay. That's okay, right? It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. It's a new day. It's Sunday, and I apologize right now for the slight change in audio. I have these little microphone, like a little lapel mic that connects with Bluetooth, that I like put this thing in my phone because I do all my recording on my phone. But your girl was out for a walk this morning, and as she was doing a little video for like an outfit of the day type of thing for Instagram, snow got up the lightning port, and now it's still not dry, so it doesn't want me to put anything in there right now. Apologies for the slight change in sound quality. I am coming to you today, it being a Sunday afternoon. I'm feeling like a slightly, like, is discombobulated the right phrase I want to use? I don't know. This is how I kind of feel occasionally on the weekends, especially when I have a long weekend. I'm a person of routines, and when I don't have a routine for the weekend, which I kind of do, but I don't, I just feel kind of lost. So yesterday I did crochet a lot, and I realized as I was talking about the pullover that I'm planning on making, I totes got my math wrong in terms of how many granny squares I need to have, because I forgot about the sleeves. So yeah, I need about like 100, 102, or I need 62 for the sweater body itself, for the entire sweater body. Each sleeve should have about 20 squares according to my math. So really I need 102. Currently I am almost finished. I will have, once I finish, I've been kind of doing batch crochet. So I've been kind of doing them in clumps. So I have like all of these blue ones, and then like, you know, the brownie gold ones and the white ones. And then I'm going over and putting all the raspberry pink border on them. I think right now I currently have, what is 18 plus 12 plus 7 plus 10, which is 30, 47, right? 47. I have 47 squares, and which means if I need 102, I need however many more. My hands, I will admit, my hands were really feeling it yesterday because I got into a zone and I didn't want to stop. And what was happening, the way I was holding my crochet hook, like I was getting a pressure point like on my index finger. And so I thought, oh no, well, I think I need to stop because you can feel like your hands are getting tired. And I was watching Maker Bee, which if you're not following them, you should. And greetings, Bee, if you're watching. In the most recent episode, Bee was sharing some of the finished objects and stuff, and they had on a bunny hat, and I need the bunny hat. So I've started to make the bunny hat. Mostly because I've had these skeins of, and like, look how nuts this is. This is like so crazy. Let me see if I can get the color. Like, look, this is such a great color. This is Plump from Spin Cycle in the colorway Vibe Check, I think. It's like super, it's super Lisa Frank 1995 to me, like very much the color palette I had when I was like 13. At least that's what it feels like to me. This is what it feels like. And I'm holding it together with some leftover hot pink mohair, lace weight mohair. This, I believe, is from Allison Barnes Yarns. I think it might be the colorway Leg Warmer or Scrunchy. One of those two. But I'm holding them together and I'm knitting a bunny hat. I found the pattern. It took a bit of digging, but I found the pattern. This is called the Bunny Clava, and you can buy it on Ravelry. The pattern, I'm gonna warn you right now, if you decide, I'll link it downstairs. I'll link it below. I feel like this might be this particular person's first knitting pattern, maybe. And it's written in just a way that it feels conversational, and it's not that they're leaving things out. It's not that. It's that it's not organized in rows or anything like that. So like at a certain point when I was shaping the first ear here, the way that the instructions are in the pattern for this, I'm like, I had to read it over multiple times to understand what was going on, because there were really no real paragraph breaks. And it was like all of the decreases were just like, it's written as if you were just knitting. And so it's written in a spiral. That's what it feels like to me. It's written, when you're knitting in the round, you're knitting in a spiral. It's not a perfect circle. That's kind of how I feel like this was written, in a spiral. The hat itself, it's knit at a tight gauge, so that it fits really close to the head, which is great for me because I have very short hair now and it will fit over my noggin pretty well. And there is shaping, a couple of instances of short row shaping. So you can kind of see it bulb out like a little bit on the back there. And that's just, I think, to fit the back of the head. And then there's a bit of short row shaping up here on the crown too. I think so the bunny ears will sit more forward. It's very clever. I'll probably definitely make this again at another point in another color and all of that. I lengthened it by just a little bit, and but other than that, I've knit it pretty much to pattern. which means I've dipped into my second skein of Plump. I know I'm not going to use a lot of that one, just because I just have to knit the second ear, and then I haven't looked ahead in the pattern, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up grafting the center stitches together, I think, and then I'll have a hat on my head somehow. I don't know. It's like, it's very dense. It's very dense. But the idea being that you put it on your head and then the bunny ears will stick up. Oh my gosh. Maybe it's too tight. Everything comes out in blocking, right? Yeah. But we're just going to finish it and see how it goes. Yeah. We're going to do that. Whatever. So that's what I'm doing. I'm almost finished it, and I started it last night, and it took feels like it took 3 seconds to make, so it's going by quick. But I do have to get back on my granny square kick, so I'm going to be making more of them a little bit later. Yeah, I'll make more granny squares. At least the centers of the granny squares. I'm going to make more of those using my hand spun here, that same sort of sunset color. I'm going to make more of those, I think. Yeah, so that's my check-in for right now. Let's see how much I get done and when I check in with you again. Okay, it's complete, and it's hella goofy, and it looks I need to block it. Yeah, because if I put it on, it's pretty tight, which is good that it's tight, but I'm like, it's not exactly what I want. So I'm gonna block it, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm also gonna roll this up to get it closer under my head. I'm realizing if these ears are really gonna stick up as high as they are, I'm not gonna be able to drive with this on, because I mean, unless I open up the sunroof. But they're just gonna stick right out. Anyway, we're gonna block this and see what happens, if it's gonna stretch out a bit.